I've got to just jump in here because, honestly, Senator Sanders is the only person who I think would characterize me, a woman running to be the first woman president, as exemplifying the establishment.
That was the debate last night on MSNBC. Hillary Clinton saying, I can't be establishment. After all, I'm not a man. Of course, Hillary Clinton was the First Lady of Arkansas for several terms. She was First Lady of the United States for 2 terms. She was then a United States Senator for a term and a half. She then ran for president. Then she was Secretary of State, and she runs a foundation that gets donations in the millions and millions of dollars from Wall Street. But she's a woman, so she's not the establishment. Joining us now is Joe Trippi, Democratic Party strategist, Fox News contributor. Joe, is that excuse going to fly with the Bernie Sanders core base there?
Well, no, it won't fly at all with the Sanders base. Is that it was part of the problem both of them have is the Sanders base likes him so much that tearing into him doesn't help or get any of them, and the same thing for him. The more he goes after her, the more the women that are already for her in other groups in the party that are already for her, non-whites and others, it's harder for him to get them. So I think that's one of the reasons, even though they did go at it last night, it's nowhere near the tone that you see on the Republican side.
Do you see any way on this green earth that we're on that Hillary wins in New Hampshire? I mean, this is Bernie's going away, right?
Yeah, it was always, I think, clear that at least that state was always, New Hampshire was always going to be his. I mean, there has been, I think in the last 50 years and definitely in the 30-something years that I've been doing this, every single New England neighboring candidate who's ever run on the Democratic side won New Hampshire against everybody else. Mm-hmm. And the only time that didn't happen was in 1980 when Jimmy Carter was running for re-election and defeated Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts there. So that's the only time a New England candidate who has been defeated in that state on the Democratic side, and it was he was running against a president running for re-election. So if you look at Mike Dukakis, John Kerry, Paul Tsongas defeated Bill Clinton there in '92.
Well,
it's just there's something about the state. It regards its neighbors as it looks very favorably on its neighboring candidates, and there was no reason to believe that Bernie Sanders wasn't going to benefit from that.
So, Joe Trippi, last time we talked to you, it was about 2 weeks before Iowa, and you said, Iowa, New Hampshire, she can lose both of them. Doesn't matter because with minority voters and with other voters in the South, she's got a lock here, Hillary Clinton does. Since then, the results in Iowa were, they're being mocked right now because they were so close with the coin flips and everything. She's acting, as you just said, she's probably going to lose New Hampshire. She is calling for more debates, Hillary Clinton is, and looks like she's scored 3 more debates, including the one we had last night. She's not acting like a candidate necessarily. She's going really hard against Bernie Sanders now. Not acting like someone who thinks she's got it in the bag, is she?
Well, no, she doesn't have it in the bag. And look, what I've been saying is that this sort of narrative out there that Bernie Sanders is a threat to her. Well, I understand it. He did tie her in Iowa. He is going to defeat her in New Hampshire. But the real test is the ones I've raised. Can he expand beyond white progressives and young people into other parts of the Obama coalition, namely African Americans, Latinos? Can he do that? So far, he hasn't been able to. If he does, that's the real test. If he can't do that, he's never going to be a threat to Hillary Clinton.
Okay, got it.
All right.
If he can do that, oh man, it's a totally different thing. Then you've got a competitive race that could go all the way to the convention.
Well, I got to tell you, I went to a Bernie Sanders thing in Iowa, and I was really impressed with the level of energy in the room, the excitement that the people who support Bernie Sanders have, and how much they are fired up. They're almost evangelical about it. They really are crazy about this guy and what he stands for. And I get the sense that on the other side of the equation, when you're talking about Hillary, it's like, not really. Not that kind of of energy, not that kind of commitment to her as a candidate. Do I have it wrong?
I mean, I'd give it mixed. I mean, I definitely think that's true of Sanders. On the other hand, that it was supposed that energy, that excitement, those people all turning out in what was a pretty heavy turnout in Iowa. That was supposed to swamp her because she couldn't compete and get those kind of numbers. In other words, as the turnout went up, she was supposed to get creamed.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? She tied him. I understand it was only a tie and that she barely eked out what might be called a win, but it's actually kind of amazing in the face of all that, in the face of, I know exactly what you're talking about, that energy of the crowds, how excited, how energized they were, and the fact that it was the second highest turnout in the history of the Democratic caucus. And she was right there. So I wouldn't read. So I think it's true that he's got that energy, and that. But so far, you've got to give her some credit for being able to compete in that environment because she wasn't supposed to be able to.
Our guest is Joe Trippi, Democratic Party strategist, Fox News contributor. And Matthew Continetti in today's Free Beacon writes an article saying that Bernie Sanders has actually exposed the soft underbelly of Hillary Clinton's run for the White House here. And I wonder, as a political strategist, if you were observing this from the other side, if you were a Republican strategist right now and you were watching how Bernie was making inroads into Hillary's run, what would you be learning and what would you be advising?
Oh no! I mean, look. The fact of the matter is that's what primaries do. They do expose the weaknesses of the candidates. They also expose their strengths, and I mean the same thing is happening on the Republican side. If we figure out who's going to get it, there are a lot of weaknesses exposed. So I don't think. I think one that a lot of the things that Bernie's sort of opened up are things that the Republicans were going to open up in any case. And look, the one I thought got exposed last night, the other way in the debate, and it's been happening in a lot of the debates, is Bernie just was just really had some vulnerabilities on foreign policy. I mean, he got asked the question about Afghanistan, and I think he had a nice answer about Iraq. Answered it with a nice answer about Iraq and Syria, and never got to Afghanistan at all. So that's going to be where if he's the nominee, we've got a problem there.
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
Joe Trippi, we've got to leave it there. Always good to have you. Enjoy New Hampshire. It's going to be a fun weekend.